Hello. Welcome to Kindly Neurodivergent with Kay. This show is to spend quality time with each other, kindly discussing the similarities and wide range of differences we experience. The experiences we discuss on this show are for educational. Hello. Welcome to Kindly Neurodivergent with Kay. This show is to spend quality time with each other, kindly discussing the similarities and wide range of differences we experience. The experiences we discuss on this show are for educational purposes only. Please do not substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Before we begin, I respectfully request that if you witness any pauses during this show, please continue watching. I'm composing a spontaneous comment or question, someone processing their thoughts, in addition to repeating something that was unintelligible or misunderstood. It is natural discourse, and we can choose not to say anything while this is occurring. Today, Adina Levy is here with me. She is here to discuss growing up undiagnosed with autism and ADHD, what support helped, what didn't, and how understanding neurodivergence changed everything. Adina Levy is a proud autistic actor, speech therapist, professional educator, podcaster, speaker, and business coach for neurodivergent folks. She runs Play, Learn, Chat, and neurodivergent business coaching and consulting. Welcome, Adina.
Thank you so much, Kayla. I'm so excited. We have been emailing for a long time, haven't we? And to finally have this chat, and we're even doing a double chat. You're going to interview me, and then I'm going to interview you. And
Please introduce yourself.
sure, yeah. Well, I'm thinking because it's 9 a.m. my time, so I've only just woken up on a Monday morning. You're on Sunday. I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I'm not usually a morning person. So to chat with Americans, I need to make my brain go on a little earlier. A little big coffee there. Um, so who have I woken up as today? You listed all my many hats and titles, and I do a lot of things, obviously. And that's all the different roles that I have. I'm also a mum. I've got two gorgeous little girls. I've got a husband. I've got a supportive family. I've got wonderful friends. We'll talk about friendships later. I know we'll get into that today. Today I am honestly pretty much wearing my pajamas. I'm coming to you from my home, my comfortable home office, which is actually the dining table converted in the daytime. I am a curious person who loves connecting with people one on one. I think maybe like you. And that's why I'm so excited to get to know you and to chat. And I think I'm used to being the interviewer, so it's really interesting for me to be the one being interviewed. So here I am.
You mentioned your mom had a beautiful way of seeing you as you were, even before your diagnosis. What did that support feel like in your life growing up?
I think both of us, Kayla, talked about having supportive families, which is an amazing, unmissable fact about who we are now, I think. And for me, I mean, both my parents are fantastic, but my mum is a connector of people. She sees people for who they are. She's not a big fan of labels and diagnoses, which is something we are kind of working through her understanding of how that can also be helpful. But more to the point, we didn't know my labels and diagnoses and, my neurotype. We didn't have the language for that even, or that awareness until I was 36. Um, so, but what mum did was she and it still does, she understands people. She sees what a person needs and what makes them tick and how they get excited. And she sees how following interests can lead to a really full life. She's done that in her own life and she's supported that with myself and my brothers as well. And so what that felt like um, was really a sense of possibility that we can follow our interests and that can even become, a big part of our life. A sense of confidence that, we could try anything, but without too much, like maybe a little bit of risk taking in terms of following an interest and seeing where that leads us without feeling like it has to be the only thing forever. And now that I think about all the jobs and roles and businesses that I have, I think that maybe has shaped me to where I am trying different things and exploring. So it feels, really affirming, really, I think to give kids a sense of possibility and exploration is very important.
What made you be late diagnosis?
How did I end up with the late diagnosis? Like, how did I get there? Yeah, that's a great question. There's an organization in Australia called Yellow Ladybugs, and they are fantastic. They support autistic girls and non-binary people, and I love them, love them so much. Um, and they have a conference every year. Mostly it's online, a little bit in person. And nearly 4 years ago now, I think it was, I attended the online conference for 3 days. I was listening to almost all autistic and neurodivergent presenters who were also professionals. Many of them had what might look like a normal life, like family and study and career and all of this. And I kept seeing lots of examples of people who kind of reminded me a little bit of me. They talked about living this sort of normal, I'm doing, air quotes, normal life, but having all these struggles, these often very internal struggles. And I just felt myself reflected over and over again in these professionals who identified as autistic and ADHD. And I'd been thinking for years, oh, maybe, but not really. No, that couldn't be me. No, that couldn't be me. And it was in that moment, those 3 days of watching lots of people, seeing parts of me, versions of me, and all these other people, I went, I think that's me. And that was the moment where I pretty much acknowledged myself. I think that that's my neurotype. But there is a part of me, this is part of my personality that I seek external validation. I love and I need to hear from other people that, yeah, I'm doing a good job or I'm on the right track. Oh, I did a thumbs up on on the screen. Um, and so I did get a formal diagnosis with an amazing psychologist, and that was a beautiful experience. It's not for everyone, and not everybody needs to have, formal on paper diagnosis. And there are many reasons why people can't or choose not to as well. So I'm very open to sharing, like self-identification is completely valid in my world, absolutely. But for me personally, I did feel that I wanted someone else to say, yes, you are autistic and ADHD. And when I got that diagnosis, like when he said it, it was a celebration and a freedom for me. And I just felt so seen.
What led you to the organization conference?
Oh, that's a really good question. Like, how I heard about yellow ladybugs. It was actually from a client of mine, one of my speech therapy families. They had two girls who were autistic, and I used to work with both girls. And many years ago, the mum told me about this amazing organization. This might be more than 10, maybe 10 years ago, 9, 8, something like that. And I looked them up and I thought, cool. And I just saved the link and great. And then I just kept hearing more and more about them. Then I watched that conference, got my diagnosis. And by the next year, I was a presenter at the conference. And I have been for 3 years, which I feel very honored to be. And as I've heard from some other people, I have now been part of that discovery journey for some other people who've watched the conference, heard from me and other folks, and also learned more about their own neurodivergence, which is really cool.
So as a child, your school didn't push for a diagnosis.
Yeah, so this is interesting because I am a very high masking person. I'm also gifted, which I always find very odd to say, but I'm very intelligent and autistic and ADHD. And in a way, these three parts of my neurotype maybe almost canceled each other out in some ways. And so, because I could learn things quite quickly, I could also spend 99% of a lesson completely inattentive or in complete sensory overwhelm. But if I just heard, like, let's say 1% or 5% of what the teacher said, or just kind of, I would often learn things quite quickly. So it didn't look like I was struggling to the teachers. And my ADHD in me shows up in very internalized ways. It's my brain. My brain is very, very busy. But my body, I fidget. I mean, like, I brought my fidgets here. I'm holding up three different squishy fidgets right now. I fidget a lot. So my physical expression, I guess, is very subtle. Like maybe I've learned that, or maybe it's fine for me. I keep my hands below the Zoom screen, just fidgeting, fidgeting. But I wasn't like, running around the room or falling off my chair, or I probably did fall off my chair, but I wasn't like, when you think about like classic ADHD in a classroom, a teacher wouldn't have seen me and known so much. But if they really looked, they would have hopefully possibly noticed that there were many times my brain was not in the room, let's say. So I think, I don't blame anyone. It wasn't well known, and it's still only emerging now what my kind of presentation can look like. But I have questions in my mind, and I don't know if it's grief or potential grief or something, where I wonder if my neurotype had been known and if I'd been supported, what else could I have done? Where else could I be? And I'll say I'm very happy with where I am, but how I got here was through a lot of burnout. So I can't rewrite the past. I can't change that, but I do wonder.
Is it due to a lack of awareness or resources?
I think awareness, in the 90s, so I'm 39. Um, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, people didn't really know what a chatty, high masking, autistic ADHD girl looked like. It wasn't seen, it wasn't diagnosed, and let's say, I didn't present with typical behavior problems. Every major challenge really has been my internal struggles, mental health challenges, and things like that. So I can't, I hope this is what I'm trying to do in my work is I'm trying to change the path for kids ahead of me, the kids growing up now. I want them to be seen and supported early on so they don't end up in burnout and mental health problems and self-concept problems.
You had a big meltdown on the way to swimming lessons, and your mom didn't push you to go. Can you tell us more about what that moment meant for you?
Yeah, I have a very strong memory of being picked up by my mum after school and we were on the way to swimming class. I feel like I was 7 years old. And interestingly, my mum doesn't remember this, but I have such a strong memory of having the biggest meltdown in the car. And that was the last, well, not the last, like we didn't go to swimming lessons. And then I didn't go to swimming lessons after that day until I was 25 and training for triathlons and chose as an adult to go back to swimming lessons. And it's a story to me that is a very affirming story. And it helps me think about the complexity of this idea of like resilience and the idea of, um, deep understanding and accommodations. And so let's say there's a child having a meltdown saying, I don't want to go to swimming lessons. There's two pathways really. One pathway is you're going to swimming lessons. We've signed up, it's in the calendar, you're going. And that's more the like resilient pathway, which is interesting because that word resilience is often seen as only positive. And I think it can be positive, but it can be a sign of we're going to push you so much and you're going to end up hiding your struggles inside because we're telling you that it's not okay to feel scared, afraid, whatever it was. I don't actually know what my meltdown was about. I don't know why I could not go to swimming class, but my body knows it. Every time I tell the story, I'm like my body knows that there was something there. And my guess is it was something about my feeling of safety with the teacher. And I've seen this reflected in me and in my experiences taking my daughter to swimming lessons. And I know that when there's a connection with a teacher and a sense that I know you're going to keep me safe, then that's okay. It's okay the resilience can come because I know someone's there to keep me safe. But when there's something as weird as like water in a swimming pool when you don't really know how to swim yet, to have a person there, the teacher, who you don't trust, you don't know that they're going to actually keep you feeling safe. And I'm not talking about physical safety as much as that felt safety. I feel like that's what led to my meltdown. And so what mum did was she understood, she saw me and she saw that my level of distress around going to that swimming class was so high that there was no benefit in pushing through. At that point, I actually could swim enough to save my life. And in Australia, we've got swimming pools everywhere, we've got beaches. It's really important, like, to learn, if you can, to learn to just, save yourself by holding on to the swimming pool edge. And I think I think it's just another example of mum and then how other adults can see kids and just question everything. We don't just because you signed up for swimming class doesn't mean you have to go. You have to see the child in front of you
Mm.
and you have to really understand what is going on there that or even if you can't understand the meltdown, but you can see there's something really big there. We can't push through that big thing. We need to step back. We need to look after that child. So thanks, Mum. So
What made your mother not try again?
that's a good question. I don't know. I should ask her. Um, maybe life got busy. Maybe I refused. I'm curious, Kayla. I should ask her.
You tried many instruments, violin, flute, piccolo, and sometimes lost interest. How did having that freedom to explore and stop help you?
I think the first thing I recognize is this particular example of trying different musical instruments. There's absolutely a financial privilege there, but also a value in my family of music and, a love for music. Most people in my family play a musical instrument. Um, Even my dad, who's not super musical, he plays the harmonica very well. So, it's very valued. Um, I think, again, this is another example of how we were allowed to explore our interests. The moment I felt like, oh, I don't really want to practice violin anymore, it didn't mean we canceled violin straight away. That's not a meltdown moment. So there's a little sense of being brought up and encouraged, encouraged to keep going, encouraged to try, encouraged to stick with it, but not forced. And I think that's the difference. And, really, I give so much credit to that way of being brought up that allows me as an adult to feel confident to explore directions and confident to listen to myself. If something is a little bit hard or becomes a little boring for me, I don't drop it straight away. I give myself a bit of time or maybe a different way to do it, or, I try. But eventually, I know now when something's really not working for me, I can let that go.
Is it tricky?
Can you say that again?
Is it tricky?
Is it tricky? I think I missed that. Or like what's tricky?
Balance of letting go.
That's a great question. Yes, it really is. It's really tricky. Now that I'm the grown up, I'm the adult, I'm the one who has to make the decisions in my life. That's actually a lot of pressure because I'm both feeling, maybe pulled towards something and resistant of something. And then I'm the one who has to make the decision. Which path do I choose? Now, I love having the choice. I've given myself a life where I get to make these choices, but it is a lot of pressure on myself. I'm constantly choosing, what do I do next? How much do I push that, or how much do I let something go? So yeah, it's complicated. I love having that choice, but yes, it's tricky. And honestly, I probably in the last year, I have found ChatGPT very helpful to help me think these things through. Do you use ChatGPT or AI at all? Yeah. I found it, I kind of bounce things like when I feel stuck on a decision, and especially if it's something like, do I still do this thing, whatever it is, or do I cancel it or, change direction? I have very long conversations weighing up all the parts of that decision, and that does help me get through. I'm not asking ChatGPT to make the decision for me. I'm getting it to help me think through all the aspects of that decision. That does help.
What helps you decide besides ChatGPT?
A human also. My husband is a very, I'd say he's a very sensible person. And I think for me, I don't know that I'm sensible. I think I'm very driven by my emotions and my interests and my passions. He's very sensible. So often, if I have a big decision or I think I'm about to make a big decision, I will discuss it with him. And his he he has a pretty clear way of kind of encouraging me to think about something more if it seems just a little bit too much of a big decision too quickly, or, I really respect his opinion. I don't always listen, but his opinion very much helps me also get that human input.
Were you married before your diagnosis?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I should know the years. I think 8 years. Yes, we've been married almost 8 years. We've been together 18, I think, something like that. And um, yeah, so he knew me, many sides of me before we knew how interesting my brain is. We've got a lot of neurodivergence in both of our families. A lot of it is not identified or labeled or known or diagnosed. But, we come from interesting group of brains, let's say.
How did that go?
Like kind of knowing each other before we knew my neurotype. Or-
How did he react to your diagnosis process, etc.?
Love it. Love your questions, Kayla. You're making me think about things I've never thought about.
Hmm.
Um, well, like I said, he's very sensible. He's very, most things in life, he'll just say, good, cool. Nothing really makes him too like upset or enraged or anything, or, he's just kind of, everything's good. So he just accepted it. He's like, okay, cool. And what was important for him, I think, is that it helped me a lot. And I think that's a beautiful relationship. It didn't make a difference to him in a way because he saw me for who I am anyway, but he could see that it helped me, and he was really encouraging of that process. I feel very lucky.
You talked about your time in Switzerland with a group of quirky kids where you didn't have to mask. What was that experience like for you?
Really, really cool. When I think back to my childhood experiences and friendships, especially when I'm thinking about like socializing as an autistic person and what that looks like and what that felt like at different points in my life. At age 9, almost 10, my family moved to Switzerland for about 2 years. We lived near Geneva, so the French-speaking part of Switzerland. And we lived in a small village and no, didn't walk to school. We got the bus to school, walked home from school with my brother. I think I was very slow because he would like push my backpack for like a whole hour. And if I was away from school for the day, it would take him like 20 minutes to walk home. So I think I was very slow. Sorry, brother. But it was this whole different life. Like we literally were walking home through fields and like, little villages, and it was very cool for a city girl to go and live that experience. And the kids that I connected with, there was a group of 7 of us, and to be honest, I've got really strong friendships with people I've known since I was 5 years old, even 3 years old. I still have these friendships with people from, that long ago. But these are like one friend, one friend, one friend. And I'd never really felt like part of a group. And having we were like a group of, we were not the popular kids. Let me just be clear. We were by far not the popular kids. And as a kid, even though I thought that I wanted to like be popular, whatever that means, it didn't matter because we were with this group of other kids. We were all a little bit weird and odd, and I wonder who is neurodivergent these days, or who knows. Um, we enjoyed our childhood. We put on plays for our parents. We like got
Hmm.
around like town, and we just did imaginative play and talked about horses, which I know is an interest of yours too, Kayla. And we were free to
Yeah.
be ourselves. So that acceptance, that like, oh, you got, are there paintings? I think they're horse paintings or photos.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so beautiful. Did you do those?
One.
You did one of them. Which one is yours? Is it the? The one right next to your head?
Mm.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yes. We're going to talk about horses more later, I know, when we chat. Ah, yeah. Gosh, horses are so good. Yeah, like I can't even describe it very
Amazing to
well.
keep close friends.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Amazing to keep close friends.
It is. And even this group of seven friends, we've pretty much kept contact on Facebook. Sometimes we just see what each other's up to. We don't really talk very often, but I've caught up with some when we're in the same city and just, I guess, no matter what, this is what I want for people. No matter what setting they're in, I want every kid, every adult to have an experience of having other people in their life who love them for who they are.
Why do you think it's important for neurodivergent kids to have permission to change their minds?
I think I think it teaches kids to tune into themselves and rather than just do what is expected of you, or rather than do what your brother did or do what your mum did, if you get some choice over your life, even if they're small choices when you're little, if you get to have some power to choose, that means you get a chance to listen and know yourself. And that becomes more and more important as you grow up and have to make bigger choices. What do you want to wear? What do you want to do? Where do you want to live? All of those choices. What TV show do you want to watch? Every choice, I think the more you can trust yourself and know yourself, the better life you'll be able to make for yourself, I think.
How has this understanding helped you embrace being deeply yourself, a challenger of the status quo, and someone who needs control over your life?
Um, yeah, I think I go back to what I said earlier with mum empowering us to make some choices. It gave me the confidence to know it's okay to choose some things in my life. And that has led to me now creating a life where I run two businesses on my own and it's just me. And I've created them to be very flexible. Like, for
Mm.
example, this week, my calendar, this is the only meeting I have on my calendar, which is like, I'm so excited.
Mm.
And what that means, there's so many things I'm working on and so many things I'm doing and creating and training that I'm writing. And there's a lot I'm doing, but
Yeah.
it's really flexible.
Mm-mm.
Um, and so I'm coming back to your question, like it's what I teach in my role as a business coach that I want this for other people. Really, mostly neurodivergent people will struggle in a traditional employment situation unless
Yeah.
you think, yeah, unless they're very well supported. I'm not saying employment won't work, but if it's just traditional employment with no understanding and no support, it's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think, when you work for yourself, it's hard. You've got to, like I said, you've got to make all the decisions. That can be hard. But the freedom to follow a path that I think is the right path. And if I see there's a new path that is more important for people, or like people need me to teach them this, okay, I'm gonna go do that. I can make those choices. So I can like listen, I can follow what I want, I can follow what other people want.
Yeah.
ADHD, you feel that as well? An ADHD part of me loves this because ADHD part of me can be like, we're doing something new. Cool.
How does this shape your work and your choices today?
Yeah, I think it's just led me to step by step, slowly create a life of huge flexibility. Time freedom is one of my biggest values, and I know it's one of the things that keeps my mental health pretty good. I won't say it's perfect, but it helps me when I have the freedom to choose each day. Like, there's all these things I'm going to do, but I get to pick which thing I do at 11 o'clock. I get to pick which thing I do at 1 o'clock. I follow my energy.
Thank you, Adina, for doing this with me. It was great to have you on. Please share this talk show with your family, friends, clients, and colleagues. Everyone watching, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.